Poor, low income American families sit alone tonight. Bank accounts bare, refrigerators empty, very little to be thankful for. And not because they don't have any friends or family by their side, but because they are experiencing yet another example of how they have been cast aside and forgotten for yet another year. The Biden administration has boldly announced their position loud and clear, but this burden doesn't just rest on their shoulders. No. Widespread and reckless government spending, billions of U.S. taxpayer dollars spent and sent to other countries to support their people and their fights. Approved not by unanimous or majority votes, but instead by executive orders and almost criminal like activities of printing and printing and printing with no intentions of ever repaying, but instead making the hardworking U.S. American citizens pay for it in the long run. And those who can't afford to pay these politically driven and greed inspired debts will ultimately suffer the consequences. Think some 80 some odd thousand new IRS agents armed with guns, ammunition, and a chip on their shoulder the size of Mount Rushmore coming to kick in your door and take every last penny you got. Can you feel it? A cold, cold start to what was already predicted to be a cold, cold winter that, in essence, is designed to see families wiped out before it is all said and done. Stocking up on food and groceries and other items was a concern and priority placed atop many lists of ways of how one can become better prepared. But it is clear right now that it is too late, and the truth is you will never be prepared for what is coming. The coldest Christmas in human history. Past and previous events all leading up to the big show, and soon the curtain will close on this final act. In almost every part of the country, there are families on the verge of total collapse, left to only hope and pray to survive through the night and wake up to see another day, only for this new day to bring more pain, more anguish, more stress, panic, anxiety, and fear. But this is now the new norm. The masses have asked for the longest. When will things return to normal? Well, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but this is it. We are back to normal. Back to no one giving a damn about you and your ability to survive and pay your rent, cover utilities, and basic expenses, only to see them towering above you with this vindictive smirk on their faces as they watch you suffer, starve, and inch closer and closer to extinction with every single breath. Every single price increase and added burden that is building up what will only be described as the worst recession in human history for those who survive and live to tell the story. An elderly woman told me today, if I could just get some help from the government, I could afford to turn my heat back on or maybe just buy some blankets and firewood. She barely gets by on a fixed income and is on the teetering edge of being evicted after falling behind on several bills and payments and only hoping to receive some minor assistance through a COLA, cost of living adjustment increase that will barely be seen and quickly taken away just as fast as it was given, swallowed up and absorbed by inflation and high-priced healthcare expenses, higher-priced food costs. She folded her hands and began to pray for a miracle. But I know that she was really just praying to receive a fourth stimulus check in hopes of being able to tide her over. She checks her bank account online every day, hoping to see a deposit, but it hasn't come yet, and honestly, I don't think it ever will in her lifetime. But it isn't your fault. It isn't her fault. It is all being done on purpose and by design as a plight against us to keep us at the bottom and struggling, begging for scraps, begging for survival. I had a conversation with someone earlier this week who explained to me that she was taught at a young age that she wouldn't be anything more in life than a mom, and if she was lucky, a wife. This by her school guidance counselor. She had dreams of becoming an engineer and building an amazing life for herself and her family. But today she realizes her life has been, as she described, wasted and is just waiting it out until it is her time to go home. Now, some of you may be asking yourselves, Kevin, what can be done? What can I do? What can my family do to prepare? How can we have a fighting chance at survival? Well, Let me begin by saying that even the best laid plans can and likely will evolve given unprecedented setbacks or unforeseen hurdles. Experiencing a loss, be it a job loss, loss of a spouse or partner, or an unexpected significant financial loss, say a medical bill or lawsuit, is undeniably difficult to navigate. But it does not mean that dreams, hopes, or goals have to be derailed. The more prepared a financial plan is for common scenarios, the better off one's financial future will fare through these challenges. Some of the preparation steps to alleviate financial worries in an otherwise challenging season of life include assess your budget and categorize crucial spending needs. The ability to quickly access liquid assets will be foundational if an individual or family is faced with a setback. It is recommended that individuals have 6 to 12 months of cash reserves held in an emergency fund in the event of a job loss, for example. Take stock of how funded this account may be and assess the time frame that the funds will provide cover for. Research shows that on average, one can be out of the workforce after an unexpected job loss for 1 to 4 months, meaning that a quick pivot to reevaluate a short-term budget is gravely important. Mission critical is maintaining expenses such as a mortgage, rent, groceries, utility bills, and continuing to pay down any credit card debt or student loan debt. Often overlooked, but of critical importance, is to weigh healthcare benefit needs and what alternative coverage plans might look like. Do not let this go by the wayside. If an unexpected medical issue strikes while an individual does not have coverage, this could drastically sideline the short-term financial rebuild state that someone was in while they were looking for another job. Evaluate discretionary expenses to see what might be able to be pared back to free up more funds for short-term needs. This may look like cutting back on expenses tied to hobbies, clothing, or dining out, Starbucks maybe. While these may be challenging to cut in the short term, take solace in knowing they will be temporarily tactics for keeping you on track for long-term aspirations. Have easy access to all monetary accounts. Now, this sounds easy, but sometimes only one person in a couple may know the true extent of their financial picture. To preemptively alleviate stress on a partner, both parties should be fully aware of all income streams, cash flow projections, and bill management and where their cash lives or accounts are held. In the event that a spouse or partner passes, having full accountability of assets, access to account passwords, and knowledge of where every asset lives will make any transferring of funds and the transition of plans immensely easier. Identify and tap alternative funds or action plans if necessary. Robustly funding an emergency account to use in the event of a financial loss may not be achievable for everyone, but that does not mean preparedness can go by the wayside. In some circumstances, assess what alternative accounts could be pulled from to bridge a short-term monetary gap. Between liquid assets available and an understanding of month-to-month expenses, calculate how much might be needed to fill a financial void. Alternative funding solutions might look like the selling of investments, taking out a home equity line of credit, or perhaps taking on a personal loan. Now, of course, understand these likely are last resort options given the myriad of potential penalties, tax or interest rate implications. Oh, and be ready to also be an advocate for yourself when or if faced with a challenging financial situation. If an individual is facing job loss, ask for a severance or advocate for more money or longer health insurance coverage. If an individual is hit with a large unexpected medical bill, negotiate rates and inquire about payment options over the course of a year. These transactions are often much more flexible than individuals expect. And don't forget, lean in on a financial advisor. In terms of preparedness, it's a financial advisor's job to provide guidance well before, during, and after any kind of financial setback. Align yourself with a trusted professional who can deploy and develop a financial plan that can weather a financial storm. Leveraging the guidance of a financial advisor when a setback does occur can provide the reassurance, advice, and direction to getting back on financial track as quickly as possible during what can be a highly emotional time. No one wants to face a financial loss or setback, So, planning for a range of events can keep individuals, couples, and families on their financial footing when and if a hurdle does arise. And yet, there will also be a collective group that just say it is what it is. And that's all right. It's okay. If that is you or you fall into that category, that is your choice. And you do what you decide you want to do. Who knows? Maybe it will work out somehow, some way.